You think you're an EQ genius because you can always rid people's fake bullshit. Hate to break it to you, but the neurological playbook calls that a curse. Always spotting your boss lying or your coworker putting on an act isn't a superpower. It's like being forced to wear X-ray glasses. The 24th of July, at a nudist beach, you see all the absolute worst flaws of humanity. But listen up, if you know how to hack this curse, you can turn it into the ultimate weapon to master any social game. Today, we're going to dissect the brains of the know-it-alls and figure out exactly why this hyper-awareness shoves you straight into the three most disastrous traps of human interaction. The Internet Peanut Gallery loves to call this ability by some flashy names: superhuman intuition, master communicator, or the eyes that see through the soul. Sounds like you just hit the neurological jackpot, right? But the psychological truth is, seeing through everything is a life sentence. The inability to just be a happy idiot is one of the most brutal psychological burdens a human being can carry. Let me explain your biology using the pub analogy. A normal person's brain is like a guy watching a play. They look at the stage, see an actor crying, and believe the actor is sad. End of story. But your brain, it's no guest. It's a bouncer who drank way too much Red Bull, running on high alert energy. The 24th of July. Your subconscious automatically scans backstage. You see the actor's sweat, you see the faulty mic, and you see the trembling hand of the prompter. Science calls this thin slicing combined with an incongruence detecting radar. Humans communicate through two channels: words and body language. Most people only listen to the words, but you're stuck with what Dr. Paul Ekman calls micro-expressions, those cheap facial twitches that happen in literally a 25th of a second. When a coworker says, "I'm so happy you got promoted," a normal person just hears the congrats, but that bouncer in your brain is scrutinizing the way their lip half curls, the way their pitch goes up half a tone, and the way their eyes dart away. The amygdala in your head, that overly sensitive security guard, instantly sets off the fire alarms. Data error. Mouth says one thing, body does another. This guy is practically green with envy. This process happens completely unconsciously. It's like tasting a bowl of soup and instantly knowing it's salty. You don't need to sit there and analytically deduce it. Your tongue just reports the facts. But the scariest part isn't seeing the lie. It's seeing the pathetic reason behind it. You look at a screaming boss and see a panicking toddler terrified of losing control. You look at a braggart and see a bottomless pit of insecurity screaming for validation. Sounds like you have the upper hand in every interaction, right? Dead wrong. Stripping away these social masks throws you headfirst into three disastrous traps. Trap number 1. The accidental killjoy. You see, human society runs smoothly thanks to cheap masks. Everyone silently agrees to act in this polite little play together. We need masks to survive, to keep work flowing, to keep the family peace. And then you show up. The guy who refuses to wear sunglasses, hauling a high-powered floodlight and shining it straight into the dark, moldy corners people are desperately trying to hide. Let's say you go on a Tinder date. The other person shows up looking sharp, running their mouth about million-dollar startup projects, luxury vacations, and acting like a romance novel CEO. Your friends back home are screaming, "Jackpot, lock it down!" But within 15 minutes of sipping your coffee, your internal scanner has already X-rayed their entire psychological structure. You realize that absurd confidence is actually just overcompensation. You catch those constant sideways glances checking for your reaction, proving they're reading off a script, not living authentically. When you go home and tell your friends, "The guy's a total fraud, empty inside," they'll look at you like a paranoid self-saboteur. "You're too picky. He's such a nice guy." The audience only sees the tip of the iceberg. You see the scum at the bottom. With zero evidence other than your intuition, nobody believes you. You become the villain in your own story. This gets even worse at the office. There's that one coworker who always plays the victim, crying and whining about the boss picking on her to milk sympathy. The whole office rallies around to comfort her. But you know damn well she missed her deadline because she was binge-watching Netflix, doing sloppy work, and is now using tears to manipulate the room. You don't comfort her. You just drop a deadpan. If you managed your time better, the boss wouldn't have yelled at you. Boom. The entire vibe shifts. That coworker will turn and look at you with bone-deep hatred. Why? In psychoanalysis, this is called projection and ego defense. When the true nature someone has worked so hard to hide gets exposed, they experience overwhelming shame. To protect their collapsing ego, their brain goes on strike. Instead of admitting fault, they turn you into the bad guy. They'll smear you as cold, arrogant, heartless, and lacking empathy. The truth teller doesn't get respect. They just generate fear. And by survival instinct, humans always want to destroy the person holding their secrets. Gradually, people with this superpower learn a cruel rule. Their clarity makes others uncomfortable. So, they choose silence. They smile, nod, and pretend they don't know. But that exact silence carves out a gaping void in their soul, shoving them straight into the second trap. Trap number 2. The amateur detective syndrome. When you can't trust what others say, you start relying solely on your own analytical data. This is when observation stops being a useful tool and mutates into a toxic risk control mechanism. Because you're so used to calling bullshit on fake smiles, you start applying those damn FBI tactics to every corner of your life. Nothing is ever as simple as it seems. You lose your innocence in relationships. A compliment from your partner is never just a compliment. It feels like foreplay for a favor. A surprise gift doesn't feel romantic. Your brain instantly crunches the numbers. What is he feeling guilty about? A text replied to 30 minutes late isn't because they're stuck in a meeting. It morphs into a sign of distance, of losing priority. It's the beginning of the end. You lock yourself in a loop of hypervigilance. And what is the real purpose of this vigilance? To never get hurt. You believe that if you can predict every betrayal, it won't hurt when it finally happens. Your sensitivity turns into psychological armor. But this armor is way too heavy, and it blocks out all genuine emotion. By constantly analyzing and second-guessing, you fall into a dangerous cognitive flaw called confirmation bias. Once you believe someone is hiding something, your brain automatically filters all information to prove that belief right, while ignoring any evidence to the contrary. You see your partner's tired eyes after a long day and instantly translate it to, "She's sick of me." You stop trusting the present because you're too busy living inside the 10 worst-case scenarios of the future. You win every mind game. You unmask every liar. You never get played. But the price you pay is that you can never, ever relax. Innocence, unconditional trust, the peace of resting your head on someone's shoulder without analyzing it. Those things become luxury items. Your cognitive bandwidth gets completely drained, and that exhaustion leads straight into the third trap, the most painful one of all, becoming the silent emotional dumpster. There is a brutally specific type of loneliness that only the eagle-eyed understand. It's not the loneliness of being by yourself. It's the loneliness of standing in a crowd, watching a tragedy unfold in broad daylight, but having your right to speak revoked. You go to your best friend's wedding. Everyone is clinking glasses and cheering, but just from one awkward glance the groom shoots the bridesmaid, and the forced, corporate smile masking the bride's panic. You know this marriage is built on quicksand. You see the tower collapsing at the exact moment they're joyfully cutting the cake. But what can you do? You just have to raise your glass and yell, "Here's to a lifetime of happiness!" You're like a VIP passenger on the Titanic. You clearly see the massive iceberg ahead, but you just sit there and finish your steak because you don't want to ruin the vibe. You can't warn anyone because no one will believe you, and you'll just be branded as the cynical buzzkill. Or you see a sweet coworker getting manipulated and squeezed dry by a toxic boss, time and time again. You see the sheer exhaustion in their eyes. But you also know that if you intervene, if you state the facts, they will deny it. Because just to survive the day, that coworker is using denial as a protective shield, and you don't have the right to strip them of their only defense. Holding onto all these truths erodes your life force. Your mind is trapped between a profound empathy for those who don't know they're being played, and an absolute disgust for the world's fake masks. And the most tragic part is, because you're so good at reading people, you always know exactly how to act to please everyone. You become a master diplomat, but in return, nobody reads you. Nobody knows what you really need or where you're hurting. People just assume you're too strong, too smart to need protecting. The one who goes around healing the world turns into a glass wall. You see through everything, but when others look at you, they only see their own reflection. So what's the way out for a brain that's always running on overdrive? You can't just smash your own radar. Telling a perceptive person to stop observing is like telling someone with 20 divided by 20 vision to try and see everything blurry. Impossible. The goal isn't to see less. The goal is to change how you react to what you see. In clinical psychology, this transformation requires you to establish cognitive boundaries and practice these 3 highly pragmatic survival rules. Rule 1. Strategic stupidity. This is the art of knowing everything, but reacting to almost nothing. You need to draw a hard line between the truth and your responsibility. You see that coworker kissing the boss's ass in an embarrassing way. That's the truth. But the economic question is it your job to call it out? No. Does it cut your paycheck? No. Then treat it like a gray cloud floating across the sky. You know it's gray, but you sure as hell don't have an obligation to fly up there and chase it away. Leave your ego that wants to play judge of truth at home. Your X-ray vision is a data collection tool designed to help you make safe decisions for yourself, like avoiding collaborating with that fake bastard. It's not a weapon to cleanse the world. Rule 2. Accept the masks of others. The suffering of perceptive people usually stems from setting the bar way too high for authenticity. They demand that everyone be transparent. But let's look at it through a more empathetic lens. Why do people wear masks? It's not always to deceive or harm you. Mostly, people wear them to hide their wounds, their insecurities, and their fear of being unlovable. The guy bragging at the dinner table is really just a toddler screaming for attention. Your friend who always acts cold and arrogant is actually trembling inside, terrified of being betrayed again. Sometimes, a lie is the only thing keeping them from falling apart. Once you grasp this, the anger and contempt you feel toward their fakeness will start to evaporate. It gets replaced by grace. You still see the mask, but you choose not to rip it off. You smile and allow the person across from you to feel safe inside their shell. The peak of human understanding isn't stripping someone down to their flaws. It's seeing those flaws clearly and still choosing to be kind. Rule 3. Forgive the blind spots of the present. To escape the detective trap, you need to have the guts to accept risk. Stop trying to control the future. When your radar signals that your partner might be lying, log it. File it away in your subconscious drawer. But don't let it nuke the present moment. If your intuition tells you there's a 20% chance this relationship will end in tears, be man enough or woman enough to accept that 20% risk and fully enjoy the 80% of joy you have right now. Living fully requires the courage to get hurt sometimes. You see the thorns on the rosebush, but if you spend your prime years analyzing exactly how many centimeters sharp each thorn is, you'll never stop to smell the damn flowers. Give yourself permission to be intentionally blind once in a while, so your mind can rest and your heart can beat at a normal, human pace. When you learn to let go like this, something magical happens. Your power of observation doesn't vanish. It evolves into something far greater. Actual wisdom. You are no longer a cold X-ray machine scanning for defects. You become a quiet lighthouse. You see all the hidden reefs. You read all the toxic currents. But instead of panicking and screaming, you calmly steer your ship right through them. This level of awareness is a brutal gift, but it's also the most beautiful weapon you can wield if you know how to master it. So, go ahead and relax those furrowed eyebrows of yours. Out of the 3 psychological traps we just went through, which one do you find yourself stuck in the most? And more importantly, are you ready to apply these 3 survival rules to protect your own sanity? Drop a comment below. Let's decode it together.